Hello everyone, I'm Vihara and I work with ICRW and I work as a researcher here. We are here to discuss something that's been not focused on for quite some time in the development sector, and it's about how do we engage men on the issue of family planning and not treat it as a women's issue only. And I think all of us can comment on this, think about it, and brainstorm on how do we proceed from here and get to a point where we can make this a meaningful experience and put it out there in the mainstream.
Sure. So, I'm Siddharth Swaroop. I work with the Gates Foundation. I look after social and behavior change at the Gates Foundation, and I think the foundation and I myself are very keenly interested in looking at men for a very simple reason. We call it family planning, and you can't have a family without the man and woman together, right? So the idea is to look at couples together as opposed to just the woman as a consumer and just the man as a consumer, because the real incentive for them to plan the family is to be a family, a better family together, right? So I think the idea of having left out men in this entire family planning program is unfortunate, and we definitely want to correct that. What we've seen from experience is that a majority of the decisions that are being taken, positive family planning decisions, are joint decisions between the spouses. And yet, almost all our programming, all our communication, and all the health delivery system is geared towards reaching women and not reaching men. So I think we need to correct that, and that's one of the reasons why we've kind of partnered with ICRW, and maybe you can talk a bit about our program.
Yeah, no, thank you. So this is Ravi Verma with ICRW, and we are very excited to be working with Vihara and support from the Gates Foundation on this project. I think the point that Sid made, that despite this fact being so obvious that men are part of the diet, yet they are not part of the discourse in family planning, is so glaring, and one wonders why. And one of the reasons that we think, and that's where we come on board, is that in the family planning discourse and family planning program, gender has never been situated in the manner it should have been situated. And we think that there are a couple of reasons for this. One is that historically speaking, there has been not much of a work to generate evidence around how to work on issues of gender equality and how to engage men. I think in last about 10 years or so, there has been a growing realization that men have to be part of it, and we need to learn as to how to engage with them. They have been away from this program for too long, and for too long in fact. And so therefore, in last about 10-15 years or so, some amount of work has been done. And this is the time now to translate those evidence into some kind of tangible programming. And that's where I think organization like Vihara is so critical in our in our effort to ensure that what we learn from the findings and what we learn from the research done elsewhere, how do we then translate that into a kind of a more practical, in a more human-centric manner, into the real lives of families and men and women, where there are too many barriers of normative barriers, the structural barriers, the individual's own barriers of bottlenecks. How do we overcome that? We know that there is a value of engaging men, but how do we overcome that? And that's where Aditya and his colleagues are so critical to this whole part of building the bridge between the evidence that we would generate, ICRW would generate, and then translate that into some kind of a prototyping. And I think I would request Aditya to reflect on this, and how does he see this moving forward?
Yeah, thanks, Ravi. My name is Aditya Devsood, and I run the Vihara Innovation Network. We're focused on impact and innovation. If I may, I'd like to talk about engaging men around family planning and engaging couples around family planning as a design and innovation challenge. Right? So if we agree that this is something that's important to do, you might think, well, let's go out and do it. There are some contours that constrain our freedoms of action. And I'd like to spend a minute or two describing what those are. As your research has shown us in the last several months, patriarchal structures constrain women's agency, their choices as consumers, even what they do with their own bodies. Further, as you've shown us, where they do express agency and make some contraceptive choices without their partner's involvement or consent, there can be a backlash. There can be family strain or even interpersonal violence arising from that. So on both sides, there are adverse outcomes that can come about if we try to just start doing something without really thinking through what its consequences are. And because this, let's say, product category or this life choice around family planning and contraception really has to do with the sexual union of two people, it's incredibly important that both players are actually informed to the same extent and arrive at this decision jointly.
Yes.
I would just like to come in here and ask that something that we have been discussing, like what exactly is family planning then? When does it begin? And is it something that happens after the child is born or before that? And if any one of you could comment on that.
I can give my perspective. It's a very interesting question because I've been to SRH conferences where we're talking about adolescent reproductive health pre-marriage and we call it family planning. But there isn't a family there. So in my definition, I think there is SRH issues and then there's family planning. And family planning is very specific to families, which is married couples. So for me, it starts at the time when a couple decides to get married. I think that's the time in thinking about family planning should start. And that decision is linked to more than just marriage and having children. It's linked to your family welfare, it's linked to your finances, it's linked to you as parents and your ability to parent well, it's linked to education of the children, it's linked to the health of the mother, it's linked to the health of the children. So it's a very, very important decision that so far, because of the taboo of sex in India, because of the taboo of the subject itself, has always been treated as limiting the number of children. But it's an ongoing process of not just limiting children, but determining how many children you want, when you want them, when is it best for the family to actually have the child so that it's better for the child, also not just for the family itself. And I think those are all decisions that should be part of what parents tell their children when they're getting married, right? That, these are the things that you should be thinking about. How do you plan better for your family? So to me, family planning is a life choice that you make at the time of marriage, which should be linked to all these different aspects.
So it's a broad spectrum in that sense and begins much in advance. Anything else, Ravi, you would want to add?
No, I think he said it so well. So we should not really reduce family planning only to promoting contraception. That's what he's saying. I think this is important. Over the years, we have been so reductionist in our approach to the idea of family planning that we have not even made efforts to even engage with men. That it shows that the narrow perspective that defined family planning program has been very reductionist, and we need. This is why this program, this particular couple engaged program, is so exciting that it breaks that barrier. It shows us the way to break that barrier and broaden the discourse of family planning.
Could I say that it seems to be probably still for us a research question and perhaps even a design and innovation question as to how to broach the question of life and family planning at an abstract level, and then distinguish that from particular consumer choices and spacing methods. So we may find, in fact, that different strategies are appropriate for these two valences of family planning. On the one hand, it might prove relatively easy to introduce the category and the concept, but it might be far more vexed to talk about particular techniques and methods.
Right, and I think I would just add this. Thank you for bringing this up, because I think the idea of family planning then goes even before the marriage starts. You know, if in the life choice, so in the life cycle kind of stage perspective, then one begins to think of one's own, sexual health and how does one want to the lot of other life choices that one makes. There, the contraceptive becomes one part of it.
And I think the point that Aditya just made, I think it's really critical because it's true, there's a lifestyle choice that we're talking about, and there are products and services linked to that lifestyle choice. And there are choices within those product categories, right? And I think we need to be looking at both. The problem that has happened in the past, as Ravi said, because of that reductionist attitude, we've started focusing very specifically on the methods, and those bulk of the methods available in India are methods focused at women, right? So for men, it's just either NSP or condoms. And I think because of that, men have never felt that family planning is their domain. So while family planning is linked to finances, and finances they think is their domain, family planning is linked to expenses you may have related to child delivery and health, etc. So again, they may think of that as their domain. Children's education they may think of as their domain. But the linkages that are so intrinsic, they don't think as their domain. And I think that's the myth that we need to break so that we create demand for the products and services that are out there. Because when people are demanding at our job, of selling the actual product becomes easier. So the first thing is to get 50% of the rest of the population, which is not currently addressed, to start demanding for those products and services.
So it's very interesting, even though they are not part of the process or they don't think it's their onus, but the last decision making usually lies with the man.
That's true.
Why is that so? If we can deconstruct this and understand this further.
Well, okay, sorry, since I saw your head turning to me, and jumped in. But this is a defining question in terms of why men were not involved so far, and what would happen if we are not careful in engaging with them the manner in which they are articulated. Because given the gender norms, which really gives them an entitlement to make decisions, even their decision not to participate is their decision. And that is why the demand has to be induced in a manner where they own up these decisions. So this program does precisely this. It would invigorate the system, the supply side, to become aware of this particular predicament of masculine norms, where they address men in manners that they begin to own up these decisions as joint decision making rather than their choice versus women's choice. And that's a very delicate trade-off that we need to.
Yeah, I just want to make a very important point that at no stage should we reinforce the idea that all decisions are male decisions.
Yeah.
I think that's not what we should try to do. I think what we're trying to say is that if a woman wants to make a reproductive choice and she needs the support of her partner, that support should be available, right? Or sometimes the decision may be for the man to take up a family planning method, right? So it's really about them working as a family the way they would take decisions for buying a television or the way they would take a decision about which school to send the child. Right. So the nature of the decision making needs to be collaborative within the spouses. It's not really about who should be the final decision maker. I think it should be a joint decision, it should be seen as that, and it should be valued as that within the family.
If I could maybe recast what you were saying in terms of maybe the strong form of our hypothesis around our collaborative work, it is that of all the different approaches one might use to try to engage men or engage couples, the one that's most likely to show success is one which is gender inclusive and which involves the couples. That is, it's not just a good or a nice thing to do, it's a necessary thing to do to get the right kinds of outcomes uptake without adverse externalities.
Yes. So here is couple engage, and we get the signal that we are off on time. So thank you very much. I suppose thank you, Quaker, for